My name is Arabella Hartley, and this is a story about love, betrayal, forgiveness, and second chances, a story that will stay with you long after you finished reading. I am 33 years old, married to Robert, and we have a beautiful daughter named Cecilia, who is 7. For 10 years, we lived together as a family, sharing laughter, dreams, and countless memories. I loved Robert deeply. He was my best friend, my confidant, and the man I believed would stand by me through thick and thin. But one fateful Friday night, everything changed. Everything I thought I knew about him, about us, crumbled into pieces. That evening, Robert told me he'd be late coming home because he was attending his best friend's birthday party. "Don't wait up for me," he said with a smile before leaving. I stayed behind. I wasn't feeling well and just wanted to rest. The house felt eerily quiet as I curled up on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, sipping herbal tea to soothe my headache. What I didn't know then was that his ex-girlfriend would also be at the party. He hadn't mentioned it, and why should he? It never occurred to me that something so trivial could spiral into a life-altering event. The next morning, Robert came home unusually quiet. His footsteps echoed softly against the hardwood floor as he entered the kitchen. He sat at the table, staring blankly at the surface, looking like a man burdened by guilt. His shoulders were slumped, and there was an unfamiliar tension in the air. When I asked him what was wrong, he hesitated for a moment before finally confessing. "Arabella," he began, his voice trembling slightly, "I kissed my ex-girlfriend last night." Those words hit me like a freight train. My heart sank, and my mind raced with questions. How could this happen? Why did it happen? I felt anger bubbling inside me, but beneath the rage was an overwhelming sense of betrayal. "What do you mean, it just happened?" I demanded. His explanation, that he was drunk, confused, and didn't stop her, only fueled my fury. To me, there was no excuse for what he had done. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and in that single act, he had shattered ours. In the heat of the moment, I told him to leave. This house was mine. It was purchased before our marriage, and I exercised my right to ask him to go. Thankfully, Cecilia wasn't home. She was staying with my parents. I was relieved that she hadn't witnessed our argument. After Robert left, the messages and calls began pouring in. He begged for forgiveness, pleading with me to give him another chance. Even his mother called, trying to convince me to take him back. "All men make mistakes," she said. "You should forgive him." But I couldn't bring myself to do it. Forgiveness wasn't the issue. It was trust. Could I ever look at him again without remembering that kiss? Could I sleep beside him knowing he had been unfaithful? The answer was no. Love wasn't enough anymore. Trust mattered more, and he had broken it irreparably. The days that followed were some of the hardest of my life. I felt lost, hurt, and alone. Yet, amidst the pain, I found strength. I realized that forgiving him wouldn't fix things, not unless he proved himself worthy of redemption. Meanwhile, Robert continued reaching out. Every day, he sent messages saying how much he missed me, how sorry he was, and how he couldn't imagine life without us. One evening, he showed up at the door with flowers in hand. Seeing him standing there, looking so vulnerable and remorseful, tugged at my heartstrings. But when he tried to justify his actions, claiming it was just one kiss and not a reflection of his feelings for me, I stopped him mid-sentence. "Robert," I said firmly, "you had a choice and you chose her over me. That's not love, that's cheating." He broke down in tears, begging me not to give up on our family. But deep down, I knew I couldn't undo what had already been done. That night, I cried myself to sleep, clutching Cecilia's hand as she lay peacefully beside me. She was innocent in all of this, and I vowed to protect her from the fallout of our broken marriage. As weeks turned into months, Robert remained persistent, He visited regularly to see Cecilia, always bringing gifts and stories to brighten her day. Though I still harbored resentment toward him, I couldn't deny the effort he was making to reconnect with our daughter. He respected my boundaries, giving me space to heal while quietly proving that he was changing. He stopped drinking, became more transparent, and even helped around the house whenever he came to visit. Despite his efforts, I remained guarded. Love and trust are intertwined, and rebuilding either takes time, sometimes more than we're willing to give. There were moments when I caught myself reminiscing about the early days of our relationship, the way he used to surprise me with handwritten notes tucked into my purse, or the way he'd sing silly songs to Cecilia during bath time. Those memories made it harder to stay angry, but they also reminded me of what we had lost. One sunny afternoon, Robert arrived earlier than usual. Without being asked, he began tidying up the garden, pulling weeds and trimming bushes. Watching him work reminded me of the man I once knew, the kind, dependable husband who used to cook dinner and read bedtime stories to Cecilia. When he finished, he approached me cautiously. "Arabella," he said softly, "can we talk?" I nodded, bracing myself for what he might say. Taking a deep breath, he confessed, "I miss our family. I miss being your husband. I know I made a terrible mistake, but I love you, and I always will." His voice trembled with emotion, and for the first time in months I saw genuine regret in his eyes. Looking at him now, I realized he wasn't the same person who had walked out that door all those months ago. He had grown, matured, and taken responsibility for his actions. Still, the scars of betrayal ran deep, and I struggled to reconcile the man I loved with the one who had hurt me so profoundly. Later that evening, as Cecilia played in the living room, I found myself reflecting on everything that had transpired. Life isn't perfect, and neither are people. We all make mistakes, but true growth comes from learning and evolving. Robert had shown me that he was capable of change, not through grand gestures, but through consistent, meaningful actions. As I watched Cecilia laugh and dance with her dolls, I realized the example I wanted to set for her. I wanted her to grow up understanding that love requires respect, commitment, and mutual trust. Most importantly, I wanted her to see that forgiveness isn't weakness. It's a choice born out of strength and courage. I thought about the times Robert had stood by me during difficult moments, the late nights when Cecilia was sick, the days when I doubted myself as a mother, and the countless little ways he had supported me over the years. Those memories weren't erased by his mistake, but they were overshadowed by the pain he had caused. The turning point came unexpectedly. One evening, as Robert tucked Cecilia into bed, she looked up at him and asked, "Daddy, why don't you live with us anymore?" Her innocent question pierced my soul. I knelt beside her and explained gently, "Sometimes adults make mistakes. Sometimes love isn't enough to fix everything. But no matter what happens, Daddy and I both love you very much, and that will never change." She hugged me tightly and whispered, "I love you too, Mommy." In that moment, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, our family could find its way back to each other. Not as the people we were, but as the people we had become. That night, as I lay awake staring at the ceiling, I replayed Cecilia's words in my mind. Her unconditional love was a reminder that forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it can pave the way for a brighter future. A few days later, Robert came to the house early in the morning. He carried a small potted plant and placed it on the windowsill. "This is for you," he said shyly. "It symbolizes new beginnings." I smiled faintly, touched by the gesture. Over coffee, we talked for hours about our past. our present, and the future we hope to build. By the end of the conversation, I realized I was ready to give us another chance, not because I needed him, but because I believed in the possibility of healing and renewal. I forgive you, I told him, my voice steady yet filled with emotion. But this time it's not just about love, it's about trust, respect, and choosing to move forward together. Hearing those words, Robert's eyes welled up with tears. He reached across the table and took my hand in his. "Thank you," he whispered. "I promise to spend every day earning your trust again." When Cecilia woke up and saw us sitting side by side, she squealed with delight. "Are you happy now?" she asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. I glanced at Robert, who squeezed my hand reassuringly and replied, "Yes, sweetheart, we're happy now. We're a family again, not a perfect one, but a real one." And for the first time in a long while, I truly believed it. Over the following weeks, Robert moved back into the house. It wasn't easy at first. We both had to navigate the lingering tension and rebuild our connection, but we tackled each challenge together. We started couples counseling, which helped us communicate openly and address unresolved issues. Slowly but surely, the walls between us began to crumble. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, Robert turned to me and said, "I want you to know that I'll never take you for granted again. You and Cecilia are my world." I leaned my head on his shoulder and smiled, feeling a warmth in my heart that I hadn't felt in a long time. Looking back, I realized that life is full of imperfections. No relationship is immune to struggles, and no person is free from flaws. What matters most is how we choose to face those challenges, with honesty, humility, and a willingness to grow. Robert taught me that forgiveness isn't about forgetting, it's about acknowledging the pain and deciding to move forward anyway. Together, we learned that love isn't static. It evolves, adapts, and grows stronger with effort and understanding. Cecilia continues to thrive, surrounded by two parents who are committed to providing her with a stable and loving environment. Our journey hasn't been easy, but it has been worth it. Today, as I watch Robert playing catch with Cecilia in the backyard, I feel grateful for the second chance we've been given. We may not be the perfect family, but we are a real one, and that's what makes us special.